Hello, welcome to Let's Talk Sports. I am Ralph Labella.
And I'm Ron Sen. And I want to let you know one thing about tonight's show. We are not afraid of controversy. First of all, coaches behaving badly. Mike Tomlin, accidentally wanders onto the field in the face of a kick return and winds up $100,000 lighter in the pants.
Well, he deserves $100,000. They're thinking about taking a draft pick away from him, too. You know what I would do? I'd take like a third-round draft pick after the $100,000. And then he stands there like an idiot, and he knows the guy's running. But the thing that gets me, he's right on the sideline. What if the guy ran into him and got hurt?
Well,
he would have lost his job.
I understand that one of the reasons that I like to be the assistant coach with him as the head coach is because if I were the head coach, I'd be insane like him. And Tomlin, because you're so into the game, you want your team to win, you'll do practically anything to win, even to the extent of interfering with another player on the field.
I'd never do that.
No, he would never do that. But I get the passion, the intensity, but it was cuckoo. Now, second of all, Jason Kidd, trailing by 2, the Nets, with a few seconds to go, no timeouts, player wanders over and he tells the player to hit me, and then he spills his drink so they can set up a play while they clean up the floor. Jason Kidd, minus 50 grand.
Yeah, and a team that was, 4-12? He's worried about that?
Well, ordinarily I'd be happy to see the Nets lose, pretty much every game if possible. But now I find out the Celtics have the worst of the choices between the Nets and the Hawks. So I have to root against the Hawks, too.
Yeah, I mean, the Hawks aren't going to be in the lottery, so they're going to get a pick probably around the 16th, 17th pick.
Well, the Hawks are not good, but they're not terrible.
No,
they're middle of the road.
You want them to get in the lottery. That's where you want them. But
right.
I mean, the Celtics. Hopefully, the Celtics will get there. I mean, if they win their division, they're the 4th seed. Are you kidding me? Even with a losing record.
Well, the Celtics have gotten off to a pretty good start. They're 8-12. The player whom has come out of nowhere is Jordan Crawford. He's a pretty good player.
Point guard. Oh, yeah, he's the best. I mean, you knew they had to move Bradley. Bradley was making everybody sick as the point guard because he can't think and play at the same time. You put him in the off guard, and he's a lot better.
Well, and the other thing about Crawford is talk about not being afraid to shoot. He'd take all the shots if you let him.
But he's doing a good job. Sullinger's been unreal. Sullinger's a beast under the run.
Sullinger is the only player who's got a positive plus-minus through 20 games.
60-something?
Right. He's undersized, but he can get in the paint. He's got a big body. He can shoot with either hand. He can shoot outside. And the good thing is the Celtics' defensive rebounding percentage is going steadily up as they get more accustomed to each other.
Now, you're going to want to keep Sullinger, right? And Olnick. You're going to want to keep. But Sullinger, a lot of teams would love to have him. A lot of good teams that need a power forward would love to have him because he's going to be one of those players as the years go by. He's just going to get better and better and better as he adjusts to the NBA.
Well, the other thing about Sullinger that I like is he's got an attitude. He's kind of like, Tank, what are you talking about? We're out here to win. He is a hard-nosed guy who knows how to play basketball. He's got a high basketball IQ. Maybe he doesn't contain himself sometimes. He's going to be a guy who picks up technicals, but he can play.
Right, yeah, he can play. I think they have to move Green. Green, I don't know. He's just not, to me, a winner. He's just one of those players. He's going to score 21 game. The next game, you're not going to hear from him.
Do you move, after he comes back, do you move Rondo and you say, I'm going to go with Crawford? I don't even know. I'm not sure what Crawford is yet, but he looks like he's a pretty good player.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like you said, but plus with Stevens as the coach, I mean, they're going out to win every game. I mean, you want them to kind of tank it a little, but they don't want to. Like Sullinger doesn't want to.
I live with cognitive dissonance every day because I watch the game and I want to see the Celtics play, but I want to see them lose. But now it's not going to help that much, probably.
I'm not enjoying it, Brian. I don't enjoy when they win. I don't enjoy when they lose.
Well,
I don't watch them like I used to.
Well, that's why it's cognitive dissonance. Now, gone baby gone. Jacoby Ellsbury, he never said he was staying. He's going. $22 million a year to the Yankees. I don't blame him at all. Picasso said, good artists borrow, great artists steal. Jacoby Ellsbury became a master of theft, and I think this is his greatest theft ever.
Yeah, and the Yankees, I mean, they didn't have to go that high to get him. I mean, they didn't have to go. It's actually 8 years at $22 million a year. He has the option, the 8-year. Of course he's
Right.
going to pick it up. What's he going to do when he's 38?
Well, yeah, right. And the Yankees are $37 million away from the salary cap, not counting A-Rod, not counting Cano, not counting Tanaka or anybody else they sign as a pitcher, not counting the rest of the bullpen. I don't even know.
What do you mean not counting A-Rod?
I think that's not counting A-Rod's money.
Because I know they've lost a lot of money got knocked off with Pettit going and
Right.
Rivera going and Granderson going.
Well, how about the Red Sox this year after the season? Peavy's money goes away. Lackey's money effectively goes away. Ortiz, that's $40 million. Dempster, another $13 million. That's $53 million. I mean, the salaries go to the Red Sox will have $70 million to spend.
But the Yankees had to make the deal. The situation they're in, they had to make the deal. But no, it makes me laugh when people say this. You know, you hear the talk shows. That was a terrible move by the Yankees. What are they doing, spending $22 million for Ellsbury? You know, and they give him a 7-year contract. What's going to happen? But what they don't understand, you can't compare that to A-Rod. A-Rod got a 10-year contract till he was 44.
Well,
I mean, 44. Ellsbury's got a contract till he's 37.
right. Ellsbury's got the third highest outfielder contract ever after Manny Ramirez and Matt Kemp. There's some talk about the Red Sox trading for Kemp, Middlebrooks for Kemp, and the Red Sox and the Dodgers taking money off Kemp's salary. Kemp's been hurt for a couple of years.
Yeah, but you get back to Ellsbury. Now, here's what I was talking to my son about. He goes, Dad, he relies on his legs a lot. He goes, he's getting old. When he gets older and older, he's not going to be as quick. So I says, you're not thinking properly. You're thinking like the Red Sox fans, who aren't the smartest fans in the world. They've never ever been the smartest fans, and they thought, I told you when they signed Crawford, I said you're paying $20 million to Crawford when you have a better player in center field. Ellsbury's going to want more than Crawford.
Well, what you're paying for is your expected performance over 3 or 4 years, and then you're stuck with the back end of the contract, realizing you're probably going to get underperformance.
But here's what you have. You got the Yankees who make, I believe they make $400 million a year.
Well, they say they lost
their
$50 million
contracts.
in TV and playoff money by not making the playoffs. So they're saying we have to invest now to get that money at the back end.
When I was talking to someone in work, I said, you don't realize it. I said, and to get both ends of it, if they didn't make the deal, they saved $22 million. What are they going to do with the $22 million? They got one of the best players as a free agent, the best leadoff hitter in baseball, one of the best field and center fielders, although he doesn't have a great arm, one of the best guys going for a ball in Yankee Stadium. You got him, and he's going to be solid for the next 5 years.
Well, they're saying that baseball was paying 43% of revenues to the players. It's going to go to 47%, and that's on $9 billion. So there's $360 million that has to go somewhere. Okay, it's monopoly money for us, but the players, guys like Scott Kazmir, who's been mostly terrible for the last 5 years, picks up $22 million for 2 years. Joe Nathan is a terrific pitcher, but he's 39 years old. He gets $20 million. They're throwing the money around. I don't blame Ellsbury, and you always end up overpaying, and that's how it is.
Yeah, right. And again, if the Yankees don't make the deal, they don't have Ellsbury, the best leadoff hitter in baseball, batter in baseball. Now they have him, one of the best fielders in baseball. And they move Gardner to left field.
Well, and people laugh at the sabermetricians. The on-base percentage for the American major leagues this year was .318. It's the lowest it's been in 40 years. The top 3 teams were the Red Sox, .349, who led the majors in runs scored, the Tigers, .346, and the Cardinals at .332. Is it a coincidence that the top 3 teams in on-base percentage ended up being the top 3 teams in Major League Baseball? I don't think so. Now, when the Red Sox sign a guy like A.J. Przinsky, he's pretty much swinging from the time he leaves the on-deck circle, but he's a stopgap until younger players come along.
And another thing people don't realize, when you have someone like Ellsbury, how many doubles did he have this year? In the 40s?
Yeah, but every single turns into a double with the
that's
stolen
what I'm saying.
bases.
So he had 50-something stolen bases. Say a leadoff batter would have 30-30 in that position on other teams. He had 25 more. So if he had 45 doubles, he actually had 70 doubles when you really look at it.
Well, Mike
compared to other leadoff batters.
Mike Lupica said the Yankees don't pay, they overpay. And he also said that they make these insane contracts, And that's what got him in trouble in the first place. And here they go doing it again.
Well, Lupica's, he's wrong. I mean, these people just look for stuff to complain about and get the press. He's wrong. They gave it to A-Rod till he was 44. Gave him $30 million.
Well, that's why it was insane.
But now you're giving the best leadoff batter in baseball, who's you know is going to be strong, till he's 35. He's in great shape. He's going to be a very good baseball player when he's 35. That's 5 years into the 7-year contract. And when his last 2 years, he's only going to be 37 when he finishes it. He's still going to be a good player.
Well, when Chu's a free agent, when Trout's a free agent in 4 years, they're not going to have enough money to pay the guy. What are they going to pay him, $50 million a year?
But people are just looking at the Ellsbury thing wrong. As a Yankee fan, I'm looking at it saying we have Ellsbury now, the best leadoff batter in baseball and one of the best center fielders in baseball. We have him, and he's going to be this way for at least the next 4 or 5 years.
Well, it's not like if you take,
so why wouldn't you do it?
If you take $150 million and stick it on the table and say, how many games is that going to win? The answer is none. Money can't play.
But the thing, though, is, and it's all fans. It's not just Red Sox fans that don't know what they're talking about. The Yankee fans are the same way. They look at their team, and they take it one way. But the Yankee fans aren't excited about this. I don't know why they're not.
Well, I think the Yankees...
How are you going to get better if you don't do moves like this?
The problem is that Ellsbury, to me, isn't that much better than Gardner. I really like Gardner. I think he can run. I think he's an excellent defensive player. He doesn't have a lot of power, but Ellsbury really has only hit over 10 home runs once, his near MVP season in 2011. So when Gardner's due the money, what does he say? Well, I'm almost as good as Ellsbury, and you want to pay me peanuts. He's gone unless they give him big money.
Well, they'll give him enough money.
All right. Well, we'll be right back with some exciting guests.
Hey, this is Paul Rabel from the Boston Cannons, and you're watching Let's Talk Sports.
Welcome back to tonight's sports conversation, and we are very pleased to have two leading coaches from the area, Richard Barton of Newton North and Fabe Ardilla of Weston, also of Smash Volleyball and MGA Volleyball. Welcome, guys.
Thank you very much.
We both had outstanding seasons and have outstanding programs. Tell us how you've managed to do that.
It's sort of straightforward. You take kids who voluntarily want to come every single day for 2 or 3 hours, whether it's Newton North Volleyball or Smash Volleyball, who want to work hard, and we give them hard work to do, treat them with respect, honor the current teachings of power volleyball, and things work. And it's just kind of a straightforward formula. It's also used by Melrose coach, Scott Chully, I would say.
Explain power volleyball.
It's volleyball that you would see played by college players, or if you were to watch on television or watch in the Olympics. Good athletes like to play like that, even if they're 4 years old or 7 years old or 10 years old. But most programs don't treat young athletes, boys or girls, so seriously and have high expectations. But if you're a good athlete, you'd much rather dive around on the floor, spike balls hard, have coaches hit balls at you hard, do difficult things. And most coaches don't have their players go through that kind of regimen. They have low expectations of players. So high expectations works better and players love it more.
Is that your philosophy too, Phil?
Oh, I agree 100%. We ask our players to hit as hard as possible, and then we teach them control to put the ball in the court.
So it's almost like pitching softball. You teach them to pitch fast before you teach them control.
Yes, we live with the errors. If you were to say what is common to top attackers at any level, they hit the ball hard. So you have to train them to hit the ball hard, like you say about softball. Pitch the ball fast, there's no other way.
You've brought your family into the picture at Weston, right, Dave?
Oh, absolutely.
So
I love it.
Tell us a little bit about your daughters.
Thank you. So I have two of my daughters, Gabriella, who is a 16-year-old junior. I've got Athena, who is a 14-year-old freshman. Gabriella is the setter. We set her 5-1 on our team. Athena has come in and she has replaced Sydney Halloran on the outside and is an outside hitter, and did a tremendous job for us this year. Both Gabriella setting Athena and Athena crushing the ball. Athena set a huge record for us by getting well over 550 kills this past year as an incoming freshman. So they're doing a wonderful job. I'm thrilled to be able to coach them because obviously they're my daughters, but they're a little bit at an advantage because they've been playing volleyball since they were 3 years old. My wife played volleyball in college, I played volleyball in college, and so it was the natural thing when they were babies to teach them how to play volleyball. Unfortunately, in the area that we live in, most of the kids don't start playing volleyball until they're 11 or 12 years old.
What do you love, both of you? What do you love most about volleyball compared to other sports?
Go ahead, Richard.
An athlete can be very athletic in volleyball. And as a coach, if you give players athletic challenges to do, they love to do it, and the coaches love to run the stuff. And the learning curve in New England, either in juniors volleyball or at a high school where they generally don't play until 9th grade, the learning curve is very high. You could be a player that came in and not know at all what is going on, and you will be improving 10, 20% a week in just about everything. So as an educator in volleyball, when the success rate is so high, it's very motivating. And the players feel that the motivation of getting better and better just remains so high.
It seems like one of the key factors is playing in a competitive league. Now, the Middlesex League at times tends to be pretty imbalanced. There are a couple of good teams and some other teams that aren't as strong. Now, obviously, that probably holds in most of the leagues. But playing a good non-league schedule is critical then.
What is the most rewarding for most players, I think, is what goes on in practices. It's what happens, we'll say that by far the majority of the time they spend in volleyball is in their practice sessions. And so if you really like to do all those athletic things that I referred to, you really don't get to do them that much in a match. First of all, only 6 of the 12 or so players are actually playing. Then they might only play front row or back row. Then, in the JV match, there's not much action, and only a third of them are playing. So the time in volleyball that is so excellent is in the practice sessions. In order to train a team to be successful, you have to do exactly what you said. You have to get out of your league. There are no strong leagues top to bottom in Massachusetts. There are really maybe 10 or 12 teams in the state that really play the kind of volleyball you need to play to win a state championship.
Well, I found last year when Melrose won the state championship, their last game was against your team.
Yeah.
During the season. You played that week, you played Barnstable that week and had a great match against Barnstable. We feel, and I talked to Coach Kelly about that match against you and your team, when you beat them 3-2, prepared them for the tournament. I mean, Coach Kelly and both of you did a smart thing by playing each other the last match of the season.
It showed them that they could lose. You can't just go in and think you're going to win. Motivated them more, and it worked out just fine. Finally, it worked out fine. He was so close for so many years.
Yeah.
It was so cool.
We remember that, right?
You remember a lot of those things.
Well,
Yeah.
Our daughters had some close calls.
We lost the state championship by a thumb hitting the net.
Oh.
Or not hitting the net.
Or not hitting
Or not hitting the net.
Yeah.
My daughter's best friend said my thumb never hit the net, but that was years ago.
It was her elbow.
But we had bad luck throughout the year, so it was good finally breaking through.
Well, it's nice to have some friendly rivals. Certainly the Melrose Newton North games, I think, qualify as friendly rivals. It's not like the Patriots Jets Belichick animosity, and and Melrose is fortunate to have another rivalry with Central Catholic. Has that same spirit. The teams enjoy playing each other. It's always good volleyball. We understand that you have a big announcement about MGA.
Yes, I'm thrilled to say that we are, within the next 2 weeks, opening MGA back up. We had taken a hiatus to move from the old location, which was a 60,000 square foot facility, and we're basically streamlining what we were using in that old facility into a new facility. And this facility is going to be a 35,000 square foot facility with 6 courts. But the cool thing is, It's very close to the old facility. It's close to 12895. It's at 480 Sprague Street in Dedham. And so the proximity to Boston is a big deal. It's closer to all of the towns towards Boston, but it's still within the same area geographically for all of the teams that would come to the old MGA. So I'm thrilled that we're doing this and that we were able to get it done in a short period of time. So within the next 2 weeks, we'll be there hosting not only Smash, but many other clubs and kids playing volleyball.
I'll tell everybody what your title is there. You run it, right? Basically.
I am the owner. I am, as I call, the chief volleyball executive. And basically, I run the facility, but I more than anything else enjoy what happens in the facility. Thousands of kids playing volleyball. I look at the growth of the sport in the last 2 years, and I have to believe that MGA had something to do with how many kids are now playing volleyball. I'm really happy at what we've done in the progress of volleyball and having a place that only does volleyball. It really allows for many kids to just pop in and who want to play, have somewhere to play. So I'm really happy about it.
One of the features of MGA that helped smash volleyball is this. When teams come in, the nets are always set up. There are always ball carts. All the ball carts are filled with volleyballs. They don't have to unlock them or bring their own. There are more volleyballs, or as many as any gym could ever want to have. And our teams practiced next to each other, with each other. They overlapped. They competed with each other. And so the effect, the value of that contrasted with previous to MGA, or most clubs, almost maybe every club in New England, is that instead of practicing in this court, in this gym, in this college, in this high school, everyone's in the same place. So what happened was our teams, our 16s teams would be playing our 17s teams, our 15s would be playing our 16s, and the continuous competitiveness in practice situations really changed. So by the end of the year, we ended up at Smash winning every age group of New England, 14s, 12s, 16s, and 18s, and had many other teams in the top 10, first and second, and 18s. And I think it really was because they just competed all the time with each other.
How do you establish the mindset where players are willing to hit out consistently? We have players who are, talented players who are willing to hit, but sometimes they're indecisive or tentative and not willing to take something less than, a perfect set and hit out.
Oh, this is easy. Yes. It's what the coach says that they're allowed to do.
Yeah. Repercussions.
Because, some of the best hitters right now were error machines young, and you just lived with it. So for example, in our league, there was a team that it would do so well every year. And mostly they would tip, shoot the ball over, do roll shots, not make any errors, hardly ever hit a ball hard, and they'd beat everybody. Because the other teams are trying to hit. And,
until the postseason.
And then you get the postseason, they were one and done.
Switches.
And so that's the deal. So you have to get to the point where you can win against good teams, you have to play like good teams. And separately from that, and it is more the way I look at things, and Fabe also, when you coach juniors, you just have to get away from being invested in your own players. You have to just coach volleyball because you want the players to play really good volleyball. And how many times did my teams lose to people who I coached? It's sort of satisfying, but in fact, it's uncommon that a player, I can't remember a player who would just come and take swings and not worry about hitting out. You have to teach them and make them know it's okay to make attack errors.
I think that's the key.
Footwork, isn't that most important?
No.
No?
Intent.
Like if they're coming, I see some of our younger players at Melrose come, and it seems like their balance is off, their footwork is off.
Some of you could go on TV and watch men's Olympic volleyball and maybe see a few people with proper footwork. Mostly you see good athletes getting up in the air and hitting the ball really hard because they intend to. Sometimes they swing, they hit by their head, but their head's over the net like this. Sometimes they swing across their body. Sometimes all kind of strange things that people think of. But
there
every
different
one of them
techniques?
hits the ball hard.
The different techniques, though. Do you like if you got to play a young player?
If I were to say, if the first thing you would want to convince a player who's going to be an attacker to do is hit the ball hard, and then you work on here instead of here or proper footwork. But if you spend the learning years with proper footwork and a perfect swing, they could be a junior in high school and still never have hit a ball hard. I could put a ball like this, hold it like this, and get any 5-year-old who could hit a ball, who can go stand there and go harder than most high school students hit a ball in a game.
So it's intent, you say.
It's intent. You just say, and it's release. I mean, I intend to do it, but my coach sits me down every time I do it.
I must say one of the things that's really important that I think we should all take back is the philosophy that most clubs have or most coaches have of what you want to do. And the majority of coaches don't want their kids to make errors. And so therefore they don't hit hard because they want to keep the ball in play. Whereas at Smash, we believe that we want you to hit as hard as possible so that you learn what is the correct angle to put the ball in the court.
Well, aren't the kids learning more playing Smash than playing on their high school team, playing on these teams? To me, I see that they're coming back a lot better because they're playing in the off season and real.
Well,
real
wouldn't
good
you say
teams.
in all sports
Right.
that how an individual player in any sport does is directly related to the exact coach they have on their team that season? You know, so it could be in Melrose High School, it could be the varsity JV or freshman.
Well,
Maybe the freshman coach is the one who's the killer technique and message person. Maybe in another team it's something else. You know.
Well, I think in high school, the coaching is everything because you can, you know, if you're playing professional baseball, I don't think the players are learning technique from the coach. They already know how to hit, throw, pitch, whatever. The coach may have different strategies or subtle techniques, but I agree totally. And you know, my thing has been saying you need 3 dominant hitters to hope to compete for a state championship. You're not going to win with just one. And to hit successfully, you have to win points. You can't just expect the other team to make errors.
Correct.
Not in the postseason, anyway.
I agree.
Well, but then again, you could take Barnstable's Division I state champion team this year, who had 4 strong hitters and no dominant hitter. Just everyone hit it nice and solidly. And then they played great defense. There were no flaws. There was no one making a lot of attack errors.
But they were
And they-
consistent, those hitters.
And they didn't get a zillion kills, and they kind of do wait for the other team to make errors. But on their team, you know, their hitters that I said are strong would have been stars on many other teams. But you would not look at a single hitter and say, oh, that is an amazing hitter. You'd say, that is a very strong hitter. We're happy to have her on our team, happy to have her on our team. But you know, just to go back to one thing you said, and Smash, one is a message to players and one is to parents or maybe coaches. If we have, say you are now a young hitter and you just be careful and you just hit it in and it's a beautiful set and you should have hit it and you got a kill, we might sub you out of the game because you are not doing our message. Now that's a good message to send to you, but most coaches wouldn't do that. They would clap and say, nice kill. Another point is that in volleyball, there's been a lot of study done that shows that final performance in volleyball is barely related at all to initial performance. And so the learning curve of a motivated player who decides they want to become good is very high. And so a young player should never be discouraged about being good because no one is good when they're young in volleyball. You have to, I've read that bouncing a ball off your arms and make it go where you want to go is one of the hardest skills in sports. The ball's floating, it's turning, it's coming from 50 feet, it's going 35 or 40 miles an hour, and you got to make it go exactly where you want it. Who's born like that? Nobody. You have to learn how to do it. Who cuts the ball coming down, accelerating at the rate of physics that physics will tell you, and it's dropping fast. It's over here. It's fast or slow, and you have to kill it where you want it to go. It's rare. So often players and coaches get discouraged. They get young players, they're not a very good hitter, and they say, oh, you're just going to be a blocker or something. No one's good early.
Well, I think this year Melrose had the worst possible situation. They had several excellent players and a lot of very good players. And that creates a situation where you have 7 or 8 players who equally could claim those 4 or 5 spots, and that creates unhappiness because people, I'm not saying that everybody was unhappy, but if they're normal, some of them were unhappy because they're saying, this player isn't really materially different than I am and I don't get to play. And I think that for a coach, that's really a tough situation.
Well, for a coach, it's an easy answer. Make yourself different from the other players, and then you will solve your own problem. When you're in the pool of similar players, that's where you are. You're in the pool of similar players. So,
All right.
you fix it, make the coach's life easier.
In Bill Russell's book, The Russell Rules, he talks about imagination leads to innovation, leads to differentiation, and you're exactly right. You have to differentiate yourself from somebody else. Why the coach has to put you out there.
Of course.
Yeah, and it could be anything. Strong serve, better than anyone else's.
But
You
how
can
do you
play defense.
how do you make a hitter better when most of your games you're going up against teams that can't even get the ball over the net half the time? I mean, how do you? Is it practice or is it playing?
It's
playing smash?
competitive drills
During practice.
during practice.
That's where I hear
Game,
from.
games, the usual match for Melrose or Newton North or Weston is not a motivating place for good athletes.
Right, 70% of the games are the haves against the
There's
have-nots.
nothing. I mean, even like you play 5 sets even against somebody, the top attacker, the one that gets the most sets, might get 25 or 30 sets, maybe, in 2.5 hours. In a competitive triples kind of wild and crazy thing, they'll hit that in half an hour.
How did your teams end up this year, your high school teams? How did your team end up?
We lost in the state finals to Barnstable for the 2nd straight year.
How was the match? Was it a good match?
No. No, we had, last year, we had beaten Barnstable, and then Barnstable had the same situation as Melrose last year. They were undefeated, we beat them, and they never thought they would lose, and they got so motivated. And the same with Melrose last year. And yet they lost a really strong setter, 2 really dominant middle hitters, and we were, I thought, better maybe even this year than last year. Except Barnstable is better this year than they were last year. They did what I told you. They have strong hitters everywhere, defense to die for.
Consistent one. Yeah.
They were so flawless. They were much better. I was very impressed. It was okay. It was annoying to lose to them last year. It was okay this year because they were so, they did volleyball right this year for sure.
Well, it's kind of us. We lost to Bishop Fenwick, and they were a superior team.
Yeah.
You know, it was unfortunate, and I thought the game was poorly officiated. You know, like incorrect scorekeeping, which is unacceptable in state
Worse than
tournament
a
play.
judgment call.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
And there were some other calls that were just.
And we were
You know,
very young up front,
we were-
too,
Yeah.
this year.
No, I
But
do know. I
anyway.
know very much who your players are.
But
this year.
Bishop Fenwick was an excellent
yeah,
team
yeah.
and deserved to win.
No, I have to
How'd your
say, this
team do?
year, yeah, exactly. This year, our team went to the 3rd round, and in the 3rd round, it was against Bishop Fenwick. We lost to Bishop Fenwick in 3. Last year, we played Bishop Fenwick in the 2nd round, and we beat them. So it was kind of a payback for them, obviously beating us, but they were a far superior team than we had this year. We had a lot of young people this year as well, because we lost we had 9 seniors last year that graduated.
Well, you got that freshman that's pretty good.
She is pretty solid.
That what you're referring to his daughter, are you not? Yes,
But at
okay.
the same time, Bishop Fenwick was a solid team. Absolutely. I mean, they did the right things.
Well, thanks for joining us tonight, and maybe you'll be back again soon.
Oh, I can't
Great
wait. Thank
talking
you.
to both of you. Thanks for coming in.
We'll be right back.
Yeah, thanks.
On and off the court, Visionary Basketball Group delivers programs that empower players with skills for athletic and personal success. Our players undergo learning experiences that position them for positive lifelong achievement on and off the court.
Hello, my name is Anthony Taylor, founder of Visionary Basketball Group, VBG. It's a year-round basketball player development organization ranging from preschool to college and professional level, girls and boys. We cater to all skill levels, starting from beginner, intermediate, and advanced. One of the biggest things that we have is our coaching staff, who do a phenomenal job at mentoring the players on a regular basis with the training, the teaching, and the knowledge. We operate 7 days a week. We offer over 30 sessions, and we're considered one of the top comprehensive basketball player development organizations in New England. And another key aspect that we do is that we have kids coming from all different areas, urban, suburban communities, uniting as one. And that's what makes VBG a phenomenal organization that helps kids gain confidence, leadership, discipline, self-esteem. And if you have a chance, come down and see what we do at Visionary Basketball Group.
VBG player athletes are rising stars in elementary, middle school, high school, and college basketball. We apply the same approach to training with every participant at VBG and produce players who are prepared for maximum performance. Visionary Basketball not only provides programs for individuals, we can also come to your town, school, or any institution to customize a structured program for your team or basketball organization. For more information, please log on to our website, www.visionarybasketball.com, or drop into our Athletic Performance Center at 152 Tremont Street, Melrose, Mass. BBG, complete your vision.
Welcome back. Tonight we have a high school fall wrap-up and winter preview. With us is Jen Gentile from the Melrose Weekly, who's our high school sports expert. Gets all kinds of inside information from Danny Ventura. And I guess you didn't have to send him lobsters or anything for Melrose getting beaten by Tewksbury.
Well, I was I called Melrose. That's what I get for not getting a good look at Tewksbury. On paper, Melrose football was, very comparable to Tewksbury. I felt they might have had a stiffer regular schedule. They had better defensive numbers, and they were really just pounding their opponents in the postseason. These weren't close games, so I thought they were going to ride the momentum and beat Tewksbury. But they had a strong first half, as you guys probably agree. The second half just wasn't close at all. But they can't be disappointed. I mean, they went about as far as anybody probably could expect.
Well, for those who just arrived from another planet, Melrose had a wonderful season, ending up 10-2 and losing in the state semifinal to a powerful Tewksbury team. To me, the key play of the game was Tewksbury had a power right formation and ran an inside reverse to the left side down to about the 5-yard line from around the 35. It was just a wonderful play, tremendously designed play, and well blocked. And Melrose could never really recover.
Was that 3rd and 14 play when it was a tie score?
I don't remember what the situation was exactly.
I know that the big play to me was when it was 7-7. Melrose had them 3rd and 14 in the Melrose territory.
That was tough.
And they ran around the right side. Yeah. But again, they didn't have Doucette and they didn't have Murphy in that game, and that really hurt them.
It did hurt them
because they couldn't control the outside as well as they did all season.
Absolutely.
And Tewksbury with Airwood as the coach. I said it during the game. I said, Bobby Airwood, who's the grandfather of the quarterback, he's the one who got Tewksbury football going.
Oh, yeah.
He grew up across the street from me when we were younger. Everybody loved him. Greatest guy in the world, going to high school, great to all the younger kids. And, again, he went to Tewksbury, had a great program there. Now his son is the coach.
Sure.
And his son's son is the quarterback.
Right.
But the Airwood, it's unbelievable.
It's a
great family.
Yeah.
Well, Tewksbury totally shut down the Melrose running game. They held them to a little bit over 2 yards a carry.
Which I thought was shocking.
And Melrose was running 7-8 yards a carry against other teams in the earlier playoffs.
It tells it, like Coach Morris did a great job. He gets his teams ready. He did a great job with the team. They were prepared. We went up against Tewksbury. Tewksbury plays basically a tougher schedule most years. They're just so well coached. But Tewksbury got blasted against Duxbury last year. I think
sure.
it was
really bad. The
30
score was
something to nothing.
Yeah.
So
it
now
might
these
even
kids
more.
all blossom, and they're all.
It got a sense that this was their year. They're a real
It was
senior
their
heavy
year.
team. It was a real senior heavy team, a big size.
But how
they
about
had
their lines?
Experience. I mean, I saw they were swatting down Malik's passes. I mean, they were just big kids.
Well, that's what the key to the game with the lines. Their lines
Yeah.
dominated our lines, and our
Exactly.
lines had a great season.
and there's
but
really nothing
they
you
were
can
big.
do outside of that.
240, 240, 235.
Right.
And they're great football players.
Sure.
So
We
that's-
did about as much as we could with what we had for the season, and nothing to be ashamed about. I mean, actually, probably went a little further than a lot of people picked, but because nobody expected our line to be so do so well over the season, because they were
Well, Coach Ken DeMorris coached both lines. Ken coaches the defensive line. Coach Morris coaches the offensive line.
Sure.
Well, I think we talked before about the challenges Melrose had during the season were against Wakefield, who had a really big line and ran a lot of inside plays,
Sure.
and against Wilmington,
Who
who
also
was
had a
not
good
a very good team,
No.
but they just ran 3 tight ends, I formation, pounded the ball up the middle, and they made the game competitive,
Sure.
even though they weren't good.
Well, look how Wilmington did against Tewksbury in the Thanksgiving Day game. I think they played Wilmington, didn't they? They beat them 21-7.
Yeah, that was a close game. Ended
It
up
was
being
a
a
close
close game.
game.
Well, and I think that
And
is
their
what
lines probably matched.
The lines
Right.
and if that had, if that worked in Melrose' favor, it might have been a different game. But I thought the game changer would have been Malik. He was really hot in the playoffs. I thought he would have. His passing game was really coming
Well, it was
together.
windy that day, though, too.
It was windy.
And
cold.
they stayed on the ground, Tewksbury. They had a great ground.
Oh, James Sullivan,
Well,
you could
to
lights
me, to
out,
keep
couldn't
playing a
stop him.
game, to be picky like I always am on the coaches. They're down 13-7 at the end of the first half. They have the ball on the 7-yard
they-
line,
yes, I know.
third and goal from the 7, and they go with a double play action.
Right.
What does you think Tewksbury gonna?
Right.
They're going to bite on the play action? They know
Right.
they're going to pass at 3rd and 7.
Sure.
So he does a double play action. Fakes to one back, fakes to the other back, and by the time he goes back, they're in his face.
Yeah.
And he
I-
threw the
you know,
interception.
I thought it was going to be a real, when it was 7-7, I said this is going to be a high-scoring game, and they're going to trade touchdowns, and they almost did. And
looked that way.
when right before
Then the
halftime,
interception
right,
killed
that
them.
interception took all the air out of Melrose. I think I'm not sure even if they did score then, Tewksbury probably would have done 2 things better, and maybe it would have had the advantage the rest of the game. But it would have been more competitive. I think Melrose probably would have put up more of a fight, but. Not like I said, nothing to be ashamed
No, they
about.
were
Great
one of the
season,
top
great
5
season.
teams in the state.
Well, and the only weakness Tewksbury had is their special teams weren't. They really
I
struggled
don't
scoring
know what
extra
they were
points.
doing. They could, and if that could come back and haunt them on Saturday at Gillette Stadium. I mean, I don't know much about Plymouth South, but
They're winning close games, Plymouth South.
yeah, I mean, if their special teams can't get the job done or is struggling, that could be a make or break. But that's not our concern.
Well,
about
Melrose
the-
had a wonderful season.
Well, how
They had a
about
great
Thanksgiving Day game against Wakefield? That was
Well,
a great
what
game.
a way to finish. I mean, it's just thank God we had that game. Those kids can just finish their season being so happy. I've never seen such an elated group of kids when I was on the field with them. It was like they won
Well,
the
it was
Super
kind
Bowl.
of
at
the
that moment.
mirror image of the game 2 years ago, where Melrose got stopped at the end of the game.
That's right. Yes. Was that the 3-0 game?
Right.
At Fred Green. Yes. And this was it was a redemption. Thanksgiving was all about redemption. They lost to Wake. Their only loss of the season was way early. I think they play
In
Wakefield.
overtime, the
Yeah, and I
Wakefield.
think they play them too early in the season. I'd like to see next season if they keep that format to play Wakefield a little later, because that's the real rivalry. And sometimes it decides the league. And to have it played in early September, it doesn't feel right. But they did, lose to them in overtime. So this was definitely, a redeeming game. Eric Mercer was fantastic.
Was he the MVP?
He was the MVP of the league, and he made All Scholastic. I just found
Good.
out. So I'm going to, put something in the paper next week about that. But he is Boston Globe All Scholastic.
What about the Raphael? He didn't get all
He,
Scholastic?
all league, but no, I'm not. I didn't hear anything about All Scholastic. No,
He
maybe
was,
the Herald.
He was as good as Mercer all the way up to the playoffs.
Yeah. Yes.
The
Well, yeah.
The Raphael, the difference between the Raphael and I would say up to the playoffs, the Raphael's all-around game, but Mercer was a great blocker.
His defense
where
was
you
just.
put-
That's probably where he
but-
got his
But the Raphael
awards.
was as good as him defensively up
Defensively,
to the playoffs.
yes.
But what happens with the Raphael is he gets beat up so bad, and Mercer,
Right.
it seems like Mercer gets tougher and stronger as the year goes on.
Yes.
And last year, remember, the Raphael got a lot of injuries as the year went on. I
Right.
mean, he's,
Mercer's indestructive. He seems so. He
Right.
even
He's
taped
so
up
tough.
his knee. He taped up his ankle and went right back out there in Wakefield and stopped that final drive on the 3 to prevent what really should have been a touchdown.
But
First
right.
and 10 on
Oh,
the
yeah.
3 with 16 seconds left. Wakefield should have won.
oh, that was third and
I thought I had
third
first
and
and
the 3.
Oh, okay.
They get down to
Yeah.
the 3, and they had 2 chances to get. But yeah, Mercer made so many. But I would put the Raphael right behind them.
Oh, absolutely.
I go
You could flip a
Mercer won in the
coin,
league.
yeah.
the Raphael, both of them are great.
I mean, DiRaphael had, I think, 3 touchdowns against Watertown. I mean, he was a huge reason why Melrose scored so many
Well, I
touchdowns.
think in the Globe it said that for the year, Garrett scored 19, DiRaphael 12, and Mercer 7.
Yeah.
I don't know if those...
I have Garrett at like 23 now, including the playoff games.
Oh,
Okay.
Garrett
He had a
ended up
great
strong,
season.
but Mercer,
Mercer's been consistent
you had that
since
offensive line.
in years. Yeah.
All the running backs followed Mercer.
Yes.
I mean, they followed him. He was the best blocker in the league, the best
yeah.
tackler in the league,
Absolutely.
the toughest player in the league.
And even just when he was rushing the ball, I'd love to see four defenders, him dragging them. They just couldn't knock the kid down.
But what I
he
would've
did so
loved-
much damage too in defense.
What I would have loved to see, though, DiRaphael get all scholastic too, because
Yeah.
he was tremendous all year. And again, I think he got injured. You could see, he was really hurting as a year.
There's definitely a case for it, and I haven't heard anything about the Boston Herald's release in there. So maybe
Until the playoffs, they were equal to me.
They were.
And then Mercer
I
just
agree.
gets stronger and stronger.
Now, I think there was some very good news about the track team raising money for the Melrose Emergency Relief
Yes,
Fund.
the track team. Not only are they always a very strong and competitive team, but they do a lot of fundraising, and they run. I think they have like a miles. People will sponsor them and how many miles they run over the season, and they raise thousands of dollars. And Coach Allison finds a cause. It's to support a child in another country and help funding his education somewhere in, I think, Africa. It's actually a really it's a nice thing, and they're going to have a good season this year. Indoor track, I already see them run around Melrose outside. But
they've been good. I mean, they have a
they're
good
going to be good. I
reputation
mean,
lately.
their cross-country teams both did very well, and they didn't win their leagues, but they were right under Wakefield. And I expect it to be another Melrose-Wakefield rivalry over the winter. But Melrose always has a really cool indoor track team. I mean, they've lost Bianca St. Fleur and Olivia Downey, but they still have Lila Drass Johnson. They have a great distance runner. They always perform pretty well on the field events, so they should be good this season. Winter's always a strong season for Melrose.
Well, it'll be interesting this year. On the girls' basketball side, they're looking to rebound from a 21-40 3-year dry spell.
Yeah.
They have a new coach in Lindsay Shanahan, former Lady Raider player, and we don't have the final roster available.
I don't either.
And we'll see. That there's a lot of strong teams in the Middlesex League. I think that Watertown is a prohibitive favorite.
Wilmington's going to be pretty good with those two sisters.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Wilmington's got good guards,
Grand
but
sisters.
Watertown is exceptionally strong.
Especially with that
and
freshman center.
And they have an extremely talented freshman coming on board. Woburn got some. They're always scrappy.
Lexington's going to be tough.
Lexington's been
But
really
Lexington's
good.
not in that division, right?
No, and then.
Woburn's not either.
No, and then Reading has a new coach since Kem Penny
Sure.
Yeah, she picked the perfect time to leave. All scholastics are gone. Now she decides to leave.
Well,
So-
I mean, I haven't spoken to the coach yet. I'm looking forward to see what they have. They have only put, all they can do is go up at this point from last season. I think they were sort of in a little bit of identity
Well, we
crisis
hope
last
they
year.
lost their top players.
Well,
And they'll miss Kayla,
Well,
under the.
it's a process, and it's player evaluation, it's player development, it's integrated strategy. That for example, you take a group of players who really haven't played with a new coach. There's no situational history. Okay, you're down by 3 with 14 seconds to go. What are you doing? You're up by 2 with 12 seconds to go, and the other team's got the ball. What are you doing? So you have a short preseason because Thanksgiving came so late.
Sure.
And you have a limited time to put in situational
Yeah.
if you're even
that's gonna be
close.
interesting.
I expect some growing pains the first few weeks.
Well, it's going to be
depending
fun.
on what their roster is, and from what I hear, they're not including a lot of freshmen, which is unfortunate because there are a young group of girls that are pretty good at
Yeah,
high
we
school.
were watching that. And from what I heard that there's one freshman who's in the mix. They haven't finalized the varsity yet. Lenora Ivers is in the mix. I don't know. They're not sure if she's going to make it or not.
Okay.
But throughout the JVs and the freshmen, from what I hear the players that some of the girls we coached that are on the freshmen, some of the girls we coached that are on the JVs, and other girls that were on the freshmen and JVs last year. I can't see the JVs or freshmen losing a game.
Right.
I mean, I really can't because a lot of these girls that are freshmen that we know played against better competition than they're
Sure.
going to be facing.
Sure.
I
I mean,
they-
maybe that's the strategy, but if you also look at the volleyball team, a lot of their success this season was built on freshmen. It's not, it's not unusual to take
Oh, from
talented.
right.
The front line was almost all freshmen.
I mean, you can't
during
put-
the playoffs.
Right. I mean,
And,
you haven't.
these are the same
right.
girls trying out for basketball. You should put them on.
You have a new coach, and to Dr. Sen and I, we feel that 3 of the freshmen are 3 of the top 7 players in the whole organization.
Mm-hmm.
So 3 of the freshmen aren't on the varsity
Sure.
that we feel are.
Right.
You can arguably say that there are 3 freshmen better than anybody in the program. I mean, you can argue that, but you could say like Jill McGinnis is a great athlete. You wouldn't put her. Sullivan's back, another player
Yep.
who's
Strong
a
player.
power forward
Sure,
who's
she's
strong.
good.
I mean, you could say that Foot's back. I mean, you could say those 3 players right there should be the 3 of the top players. Nolan.
Well, you
is
try to
there.
make the argument that you have experienced players and you have less experienced players. And then we'll say, look what the freshmen did. Last year they played over 80 games. We're not talking 80 scrimmages or practices. We're
Right.
talking 80 games against some of the best teams around. We did not play any B-League games.
No, I mean, they played in the summertime. We put them in the AAU league
Sure.
against varsity AAU teams, and we won it.
Well,
With just the freshmen, and we had one sophomore. We had Mate. Haley Mate played with us, but it was all freshmen and her, and they beat AAU varsity teams,
Sure.
and they won the championship.
I would hope that they would make some, some substitution. They call some girls up.
Here-
I
here's-
think it's
right.
the season to do it. If there's ever been a season to do it, this is it. New coach, new crop of girls that have shown that they have good basketball experience and skills.
Well, Coach Shanahan was on the varsity as a freshman, so she obviously has some experience being a freshman in that situation. She's been on as a senior. She's been on a team where they had freshmen on that team. Because my daughters were freshmen when she
Sure.
was a senior, so it's not like, oh, this is a new concept. We're not familiar with that.
No,
But
and it's not.
here's what it comes down to, right? And people think that we want the best players. We're not saying we want Kat as the center in the varsity, but we want the best players in the varsity. And if she's not, well, she wasn't Pickford and Victoria wasn't
Right.
Pickford, but I mean, just looking at the talent from last year coming back, we know it's not even a question. We know that she's one of the top 4 or 5 players in the program.
agree with you,
And we
and-
know Victoria's one of the top 4 or 5. And we know
Absolutely.
Lenora is right there too, who may
Right.
make it.
And there's one thing to consider is that they have playoff experience. They've played on varsity. They've started on varsity. And I know volleyball and basketball are 2 different sports.
Yeah.
Although in Melrose, sometimes their talent has, both teams have swapped players, but that's not really the case anymore. But in the case of those 2 girls, they did start. They were huge contributors to a top 10 in the state volleyball program as freshmen. That's something to consider. That
And volleyball-
that they are ready for prime time to some extent. They're not going to be nervous freshmen walking into a basketball team.
And volleyball is different than basketball, where you have to put in a lot more time to make the varsity in basketball than in volleyball.
Sure.
I mean, you got to put in maybe 20. I would say it's 20 times more you have to put in the basketball to be a very good basketball player compared to a very good volleyball player. I mean, it's true.
Right.
You look at Victoria, had a tremendous season. She's put in
I mean,
maybe
she's
100 times more
she's outstanding
time
in
on the
volleyball.
basketball
Yeah.
court than she has on the volleyball court, and she was one of the best volleyball players. So that's what
Yeah.
I'm comparing it to. But
Yeah, and I
she's
agree.
put
And
in the time.
I give Coach Chelly a lot of credit for calling those girls up and not being afraid
every
to
one
have
of
them.
those practices
to,
is
Good
to
for
get,
him,
to go back to the 2003 season, Melrose played Stoneham in the first game, lost by 7 or 8, just looked dreadful, and a freshman on JV scored 40 points. Well, it didn't take very long for Shea Petty to be
Right.
on varsity.
Well, I remember-
and that was the end of the
Yes.
story.
I remember Brady coming up to me. Brady came up to me after the game. I was there after the game. They lost to Stoneham. He goes, Ralph, he goes, I have a freshman who scored 23 points in the first half in the JV game. He goes, what do you think? I said, what do I think after watching this? Bring her up.
Yeah.
You need
Why
a point
hesitate?
guard.
Yeah, why hesitate? If you really believe in the success of your team, you really should not be afraid of young talent. It's only going to make your program better.
Right. But the thing that gets me, and it all comes down to this, and I've been really upset about the summer. They had people involved. I was involved up till the last 2 years. And we always invited the freshmen, the freshmen that deserve to be up there. and none of them were invited to the summer program. So where better can the coach Shanahan went to the games? Where better can you see the freshmen
Right.
playing with the JVs? And now, if the good freshman, if a JV, a varsity, I'm talking about varsity player sees a freshman, they say, "Wow, she's talented." Now you become more close. You come closer with them. You bond with those girls because now they're playing with you and you're seeing they're talented. They're going to make us a better team. Now, if they're separate from you all
Sure.
summer and you don't see this, number one, you're not getting close to these girls. You don't know them. You're going to be more loyal to the girls that were on the JV team the year before and your friends. And so now what happens now? They come out for the team. They haven't been together. Now
Right.
they come out for the team. They have 2 days to show.
Right.
So now you have 3 of the top players in the program, 3 of the top players that don't make the varsity because they don't know them, number one, and they want to give the JVs, the freshmen, and first preference, which is to me is completely wrong. I want the best players.
Right.
So if you're picking the best players and you're telling me that Kat, Victoria, and Lenore aren't 3 of the top 12 players, then I don't know basketball. I don't know why I've been involved in basketball because they're 3 of the top 6 or 7 players in the whole program, and they weren't even given a chance this summer because you have people involved who really didn't care, and now you have people here, that are
No,
making the
it's,
decisions. They don't know them.
The issue should never be. I mean, if you're in a sport like golf or swimming, who has the low score? Who has the fastest time? There's no
It's
question.
stat-driven.
Right, exactly. Whereas I understand it's a judgment call, but if it's a seniority system where a player gets an advantage because the coach has seen them before, you have the returning junior varsity coach, well, they were a pretty good player, they could help us out. Well, I understand that, but and we also agree that if it's close, maybe the upperclassmen should get the advantage. But I'm not sure, based on our observations, and together, Ralph and I have 100 years of basketball between us, which that's another word for that. It's called old. But we've seen a lot of basketball. So I think we know something about player evaluation and development.
Right, and we played the freshman team last year. The girls, the 8th grade beat them 54-27, and they said, well, the freshman team, that team there, well, they had Foote playing varsity, they had Bornstein playing JVs, they had Smith playing JVs, 3 of their top players. It would have been a great game with those 3 players playing the year before, the freshman team, all the best freshmen against the 8th graders. Well, we didn't have two of our best players, Caitlin, and Lenora had a bad back. She hardly played in that game. But what I'm trying to say is that they're talented, and they're going to be playing against talent this year that they blew away last year.
Right.
we have Bella Federico's on the freshman team. Now Bella played against talent twice as good as that last year and played well. And now she's playing against girls that aren't as good as the girls she played against last
And
year.
that's going to be frustrating. I'm hoping that this
But
becomes evident really
Well,
fast, and then there is no excuse.
at the end of the
for not
day, you're going to have to play the Middlesex League schedule. You can't hide.
Right.
Whatever you put out there, whatever your philosophy is, if you're going to run an offense that you used when you played or something entirely different, you can't say, well, I don't know. This is what I have, and I don't have any other options. Well, I think there are options.
Well, it goes back to, I met with Pat Ruggiero a lot before the summer, and I said, Pat, this girls program, it's very important you take advantage of every season. Take advantage of this summer. And I told her, I says, I know what has to be done this summer. I know what you have to do. You have to get these girls together and let the varsity coach. Now, I'm not knocking Shanahan at all, because how does she know? She's just her first year. She had 2 practices. She has to pick a team and get them ready, right? So, but I think, because she went to a lot of the games, if she had the best freshmen playing with these girls, she'd have a great idea going into tryouts. Well, yeah, Lenora should definitely be on the team. Yeah, Kat should be our center. Victoria, she should be battling Sullivan as a power forward.
Right.
Right. And if there are other players I like Smith from the JV team last year.
Sure.
And I like Bornstein. Well, watch them. Watch Lenora go up against Bornstein. Well, Lenora's a better player, or Bornstein's a better player. At least she'd see that during the summer, and then when the tryouts come, she'd have a better view of what she had in front of her. 2 days is useless. I mean, she didn't have maybe she's going to say, okay, let's see how the season goes. If I'm dead wrong about it, I'm dead wrong, but...
Can I ask you a question? Do you think Ferrante would have put these girls on the roster?
When I ran his programs,
I think
he let me
would.
pick whoever I wanted.
Yeah, I think he would have.
I always picked. I mean, I remember picking Jill McGinnis and having Jill McGinnis play with the varsity.
Sure.
Her, I think it was before her sophomore year.
Well, we want the team to succeed. We're
Right.
very passionate about
Absolutely.
the sport and about girls basketball. If they have a wonderful season, I'll be the first one to jump up here and say, I don't know anything, and it was a great decision to hire Coach Shanahan. She picked a terrific roster. She developed those players. She had great strategy and execution. But what if that doesn't happen? Am I supposed to say, yeah, rah, it was wonderful?
This isn't a team like boys hockey that's coming up or boys football last season where you have a real strong nucleus that you know they're going to be competitive. You know they have a chance of taking the league. I don't get that sense from the team this year. I wish them the best too, and I think they do have some individual great players on that team. They also lost a lot of seniors. It's not a rebuilding year. They have some fundamentals there, but they have a new coach, and there's going to be some growing pains. And this isn't. I don't know if they have the luxury of turning away people that could be game changers right now. They're not.
Well, right.
They're not a team like the volleyball might say, we don't need any freshmen right now. We're going to be really good next year, and they will. Same idea with football last year. They had, they knew they were going to do very well.
Well, there's an old saying that coaches put the players on the field that give them the best chance to look good, and what's the requirement here?
Here's
I don't know.
and then you talk about the progression, right? Progression. I look at Kat. You put her at center. She could be all league. She should be all league. I would say by her junior year, she should be all league player. She should be battling the center.
Right.
The freshman center from Watertown is the two top centers in the league.
Yep.
Victoria is the best rebounder in the whole program right
Right.
now. I would guarantee she would get more. And Sullivan, I think, is going to have a big year this
Sullivan's
year.
going to have a good year. She's
Sullivan,
gonna
I
be a
know
good
she's worked
rebounder, yeah.
hard. But she's in that same line.
But you can't just have one.
No. I mean,
you gotta have
Victoria
a
would be the
couple.
perfect player
Yeah.
to put in if Sullivan, I don't know who the center is going to be. I don't know what their thinking is. But with Victoria, to me, if you put her in the game and you say you're playing 2/3 of the game, easy 10 rebounds a game. Easy 10 rebounds.
Sure.
And hard-nosed defense. She's going to shut down the other team's big, strong player.
Right.
She's not going to give them position. She's going to overplay them. She's very strong, physical. Now, I'm hoping where she didn't make the varsity, there's a girl there that's better than her. Now, if there's a girl there that's better than
Then
her,
great.
then the
great.
team's going to do well.
Yeah. But
And then I'm hoping there's someone who's better than Kat. Now, if Kat's not on the varsity and they have a better center, then this program's going to take off.
Well, then you would have known them, though.
Yeah. I mean,
think you guys have enough exposure that you would have known them.
Again, the freshman team, they doubled the score. I mean, they beat them really good.
And
with-
supposedly
without the two best players.
And the freshmen last year beat the junior
And
varsity.
the freshmen. So, I mean, what are you seeing here?
Yeah, I just think that last year's team, they really, I don't know if it was a chemistry thing. I mean, last year was the most disappointing season. It was like the last 3 years it's been, and as much as, last year, like they had, Sydney Doherty was going to play, Kayla, Brooke, really great basketball players. But last year something was going on. It was almost
Well,
like
they weren't happy.
everybody had one foot out the door.
They weren't happy with the coaching.
Yeah, there was just
But I
a
hear
lot
the
of
girls like but one thing I have to say, I hear the girls like the coaches. I hear they like Lindsay.
good. That's great.
They really like
Yeah,
her. I know
that's
the
good.
older girls. I know Jill McGinnis really likes her.
Good.
So that's good. And,
Well,
the other
well,
girls-
Melrose
and they
came-
like this JV coach,
Right.
Hirschfeld.
Melrose came to prominence by playing hard-nosed, man-to-man defense and aggressive transition offense. They didn't get to where they were by running set plays all the time. They were successful because they made plays, not because they ran plays. And
Right.
if we're going to get it back into half court, slow it down, we're going to get crushed this season.
But, and you look at the team, right? Wouldn't someone like, I like Foote, I like Smith coming
Sure.
up. I like Smith from the JVs. I think she's going to help them. So
Okay, good.
she may be a girl they're counting on to play the 4, reason why but Victoria's a lot stronger than me. But I like Smith. But when you think, Foote, Smith, Nolan, Sullivan, what's her name, Harding?
Ashley Harding.
Harding, and Shannon, and even Maeve. Wouldn't you think they'd want to have someone like, if you put Kat, Victoria, and Lenore, just with that mix, just put those 3 girls in with that mix of
Sure.
who they have in the varsity
Sure.
now, that'd be a strong team.
Yes.
I'm telling you, that team would make the playoffs. That team would definitely make the tournament. if you put Kat, Victoria, and Lenora with that mix.
I'm hoping that at some point in the season it will look like that, because I hope there'll be some calling up from the JV.
Because there is talent there.
Yeah,
But you have some
yeah.
terrific talent that you're not putting up there.
Right.
And they need to play varsity. I mean, they've played against better competition in the summer.
And switching to the boys' side, a lot depends on what happens with Franzi Perot.
Oh gosh. Well, Franzi from I just recently heard that he's injured. So and this time it's not his leg, it's his wrist. So that's really a deal breaker in basketball. So there's a very strong likelihood that he's not playing.
All right, forget boys basketball.
Well, no, I'm sure
I thought the same thing when I heard it, but then I realized that last year
talent they had down
they
there.
had a lot. Last year you forgot Jaleel Spencer is a very good shooter, and Sharon Harris. Those are two kids that play. They're fast. They rebound.
They
They're
have a
good
lot of
players.
talent.
Colby Andrews, and he was somebody that was so under.
Nyland's a good
Julian
player.
Nyland. In Connor. Connor's going to be the most experienced kid on the floor.
The only issue
did you
is they're
see
a
it
little
practice?
small.
I haven't seen a practice yet. No.
They're going to be
Little
small.
They're small.
I'm there at one day. We had the girls' practice from 2:15 to 3:15.
Yeah.
Our sixth grade girls, and we're there. Were you there?
No, I didn't see that.
And the boys' team comes out. There's like 50 kids.
Oh, right.
They're all bigger than me. This guy's like this. They're big, and I mean they were moving.
Well, let me
I mean,
tell you something about
I don't know where that
about
talent came from.
You know what? Kasperzak was very smart about playing his young players last season, even in the playoffs, which I kind of was like, don't let anyone out there but Matt and Sam and Franzi. But he did it.
Who's the coach this year?
It's still Mike Kasperzak.
I didn't see him there. At
Oh
the
yeah,
practice.
he's the coach. And he was not. He always put in Jaleel Spencer. He always put in Sharon Harris. Sharon Harris is going to be a great player. And he was I think he's only a sophomore
Well, they
now.
played a very dynamic style of basketball and gave everybody fits.
Yeah, he did. And if Franzi came back, they were going to probably take the league again. If Franzi does not play, they're going to have to really fight Wakefield really hard for that.
They look like they have
And
a lot of
possibly
talent
Burlington.
there.
I can't remember. I know that Shane Farley's back, and Shane Farley's a very good player for Burlington. But I'm going to say it's going to go down to Wakefield and Melrose again. And, even though you lose somebody like Franzi, I still remember that. And keep your eyes. I really think Colby Andrews is going to have a great season.
I think on Home News here, the Woburn Online paper, that Wakefield has 2 losses to prep schools. So Wakefield may have been a victim of poaching from outside.
Right. And fortunately for us, we have not. Nobody ever poached Franzi from us. He's actually still at the school. He's just never playing sports for us. And
Well,
I know how
they
you
did in soccer.
in soccer. We lost him in soccer, and we lost him to
That's
an
a
injury.
shame that he hurt. I mean,
Yeah, he
was
would
a-
have done great
I
things.
love watching
It's
him
actually
play.
a shame that he didn't play for Melrose High School senior year, but remained in
Well,
the
it's
school.
listed that he's going to Northeastern to play soccer.
That's from what I hear. Yeah, nothing's. He's done a verbal with them, from what I understand.
Okay. I mean, if you go to the Seacoast website, I think in 18 games he had 10 goals, which dwarfed the performance of anybody else. So
Right.
he's a dynamic soccer
He's a
player.
dynamic, and basketball was his second sport that he just became. And if in fact he does go to Northeastern, he could probably walk on. I don't know if he'd get chosen, but there'd be no embarrassment of someone
He's
like him
so
walking on.
quick.
He's got such tremendous skill. It is a loss for Melrose. I was really excited watching him play. Maybe his wrist will heal. I doubt it, but I still have faith in the team. I think they have a lot of those kids are experienced. They went to the state semifinals 2 years in a row.
The players are good and the coaching's exceptional.
Absolutely, absolutely.
They got a huge group of kids. I'm telling you.
They
You
do.
wouldn't believe if
And
you were
it's
down
still-
there that
yeah.
day. I was shocked.
It's going to be a fun season. I think boys hockey is going to be great.
We might do girls hockey right here.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
a real blind leading the blind.
Well, in boys hockey, they're well coached again. Marasolo's back. You basically take everybody on the football field and put them on the ice.
I hope Zach's
It's the
all
same.
right to play.
Well, I don't know about Zach. I have to find out about him.
They
but
said he was
a
walking
great
about 3
scorer
weeks
for them.
ago. All right.
But they're going to be, if they can get Zach back, maybe
Oh, they had a good team when we saw them in the
they're gonna
playoffs
be fun.
against.
They're
who did they
going
play,
to be
Burlington?
fun to watch.
Right.
Yeah, they'll be good. My opinion, they didn't lose enough for any damage that much, and I think what they had last year was so good that a year later, coming off a great football season, they're more mature, they're more experienced, they're playoff driven. They could be more aggressive on the ice. I just think they're going to be that better of a team than they were last year.
Well, we said after that playoff loss to Burlington, watching them, it was the first time we watched them, and it's great watching them. we both said that Zach next year is going to be unbelievable.
Yeah, I hope he comes back.
He was
I
so
mean,
quick, and I said if he picks up a
Yeah.
little more quickness, he's going to be like those two Burlington players, those
Sure.
two stars.
Yeah.
And his brother's just vicious
Yeah.
along the boards.
And it's just, once again,
but a lot of talent.
Once again, Melrose is going to be in a league. The Freedom League has 2 state champions, which I believe it was Burlington and Wilmington, right?
Yeah.
That won.
Yeah.
So they have to play them twice. It's not going to be an easy season, but they're a good team. I really think they're going to do well. They're my pick of the.
Well,
of
it
the
should be a
winter.
lot of fun to watch these
Yeah.
teams develop, and obviously we want all the teams to be successful.
Well, we got our 2-minute warning about 10 minutes ago, Ron.
Well, thanks again to Jen for joining us, and we
Thanks for coming in,
she'll
Jen.
be back. She's on our A list. Thanks
you.
again.
It's like Saturday Night Live. How many times is what's his name been on
Will Ferrell.
Timberlake and
Steve Martin.
Welcome back. We're into December, the month where the Patriots rule, and certainly it helps to play the Cleveland Browns. The reporters asked Belichick, did he have special feelings about Cleveland? He said, well, of course I do. I was there for 5 years, it was good to my family, but now, I don't view them any differently than the Broncos or Detroit or the Colts. But the Jets don't belong in there, that category. I view them differently.
didn't he bench Bernie Kosar?
He did. Belichick was never a popular guy
No.
in Cleveland after benching Kosar. But we don't even know who Cleveland's starting quarterback is because they probably don't know either.
Well, I don't even know who their running back is, but the Patriots better do a better job, stopping the run this week. I mean, they got to work on that running game. Those linebackers got to start making some hits.
Well, the Patriots have to outscore everybody right now, which they've been able to do so far. Realistically, are they going to be able to do that against the Ravens? Even though the Ravens are only 6-6, I think the Ravens are still a team to fear.
Yeah, I mean, when you got to go over there, that's going to be the toughest game. Every game's tough, though, Ron. Every game in the NFL, nothing's a given.
Well, you have to go down to Miami. That's
Right.
never easy.
No, that's not going to be easy at all, especially the way the defense is playing. And Miami's defense is playing pretty good.
The big difference is since Gronkowski came back, Brady's a different guy. His completion percentage went from, I think, 48 point something to 64 since Gronkowski comes back. Gronkowski makes ridiculous catches every week.
Yeah, and Vereen, he's back, and everybody said he's a great receiver. He's dropped 2 big passes in the last 2 games. One would have been a touchdown.
Well,
the
he's
other
still
one
got
was a big one.
a big cast on
Yeah,
his hands.
That's
so.
what my son said. I said, forget the cast, catch the ball.
Well, the Patriots were able to come back twice against Denver and then against Houston. But I think you're really living dangerously if you think you're going to be able to keep coming back when you're playing against better
Right.
teams.
Right. I mean, again, it's got to be the defense has to play a lot better. They're really soft against the run. The linebackers are not helping the linemen. I mean, if everybody's knocking the line.
Well, I think Dennard got a break. He had his hearing today. He got his jail sentence another month added on, so starting March 1st, and he got another year of probation. Hopefully he's smart enough not to drink anymore.
Right. Hopefully, you're right. Hopefully he learned his lesson. The Patriots are preaching to him. But is he back healthy? Is he going to be playing?
Well, I assume he's going to play, but
Talib's,
Arrington.
we don't know about Talib.
Arrington's good as a slot corner, but
Yeah, he can't play
on the
outside.
outside, not really.
I like Ryan better out there.
Yeah, there's only 5 teams in the AFC with winning records, including Cincinnati and the obvious teams like Kansas City and Denver. Kansas City looks like their star is falling.
Yeah, I mean, you knew that. I knew that. When they were 9-0, you knew that they were going to start losing.
Well, they have Andy Reid as coach.
They're not bad. I mean, they're a pretty good team, but they're not great. The team that's great is Seattle.
Right. If somebody said to you, and we haven't talked about this, Seattle says we're going to trade you Russell Wilson, even up right now for Tom Brady. At the end of the season.
Oh, I'd definitely take Wilson.
I would
He's
too. younger,
number one. He's talented.
He can run. He can throw.
You have him for the next 10 years.
And my sense is that he's a guy who really cares a lot. Some of these guys, they come into the professional ranks and they don't put the time in. They capitalize on their fame and fortune to live a good life, the Matt Leinerts of the league. But a guy like Wilson, he's special. I have a feeling this kid from Alabama, McCarron, is going to be like that. I really think he's going to be a terrific quarterback. And if somehow teams don't like him, I'd love to see the Patriots get him in like the 3rd round, something like that.
But Wilson, getting back to Wilson, he's lucky he's got that defense. They're getting him the ball back. I mean, they score a touchdown, they're getting the ball right back in good field position.
But you saw that game. They just took New Orleans apart.
Well, you got to hope. You got to hope that the Patriots keep improving, you know, and they make it to the Super Bowl, and then they have a great game. That's what you got to hope on. You got to hope Seattle gets upset.
Right.
You know, you hope that team like Philly, who knows?
Or even San Francisco. You never know.
San Fran, I think it's in their head now. I think they feel they can't. They got a big game against them, right?
Right. As far as MVP in the NFL, now everybody says Peyton Manning. Well, why? Because he's got great receivers and they're all wide open, and he's going to probably break Brady's record, although both had 41 touchdown passes after 12 games. Why not Wilson?
Yeah, I mean, it could be Wilson, but again, Wilson has that great defense, makes it a lot easier for him. You know.
And the other guy is Cam Newton. Cam Newton has really come along. He doesn't have the same stats, but you know, leadership, coming through in the clutch, winning a lot of close games, coming out of nowhere.
But
really.
I think it's going to be Manning, though. It's got to be Manning. He's with all those touchdown passes. His team has 2 losses. They're probably going to be the #1 seed.
When he's putting up Nintendo numbers.
Yeah, I mean, I think it'll be him, and everything. They like him. He's a good guy, you know, and they like him, and he has a reputation. And the thing that got me is like when the Patriots beat Denver, everybody's saying, well, that shows how much better Brady is than Manning. I said, and again, people don't know what they're talking about. Manning's a great quarterback.
Well, the Patriots went into the game with the strategy of we're going to let Denver run, or we're going to defend the pass. We have 2 safeties 15 yards off the line. Manning's not going to be able to throw deep. It's freezing cold and the wind's blowing 25 miles an hour. Well, Manning's not stupid.
But,
you know.
yeah, know what amazes me, though, Ron, all these years? The weather doesn't affect Brady. He throws that pass. It's more like a bullet pass, line drive, and it doesn't affect him like it'll affect Manning at times because his ball took off a few times. Although in that last drive against the Patriots, that last drive when he threw those balls right there, a couple of them, the Patriots were all over their receivers. He made some beautiful passes. But that's the difference. Brady can play in bad weather. Manning has problems.
Well, I think it's one thing to be rooting for Laundry and just say, our guy's better than your guy. It's another thing to say, look, there's a lot of terrific players. We can admire them because they have great skill, great intensity, and great success, rather than just say, oh, they stink because they're not our guy. You know,
but, right, but in the Patriots, like you said, with Gronkowski, the one play that I'm worried about is Amendola. I don't know if that concussion got to him, but he's not playing the way he did. Edelman's been the big guy.
Well, Edelman's got his 70 catches. He's collected his bonus money for the year. They pretty much have to re-sign the guy, and he's going to get paid.
But what did we talk about before the season? I was talking high on Edelman. I said he's a great punt returner.
Oh,
you know,
and I will stand up and say my prediction before the year that the player who would be most likely to fail was Stephen Gostkowski. I could not be more wrong. Gostkowski has been tremendous. All right,
yeah, you thought something was wrong with his leg. I remember that because you said he wasn't going to be kicking the ball out of, long.
I really thought something was wrong with the guy, but he's been outstanding, and especially when he's got a new holder who never even held before.
Allen's been valuable, though, is the way he's punting the ball. Yeah, I mean, but you know what it is, though? I was thinking about that. I'm saying, wow, he's never held the ball before. But they practice every day. They're out there 2 hours a day.
Well, right. If somebody's, they probably have a jugs machine that just snaps the ball back to you time after time after time. Still, can't be that easy.
It's like a juggler. If you juggle long enough, you're going to become a person who can juggle. If you don't, you're not going to be able to juggle.
Well, the issue is, can the defense start stopping anybody?
Oh, they got to.
In Teddy Bruschi's defensive system, which looks at points, turnovers, red zone efficiency on defense, and third down conversions, the Patriots were 4th a few weeks ago. Now they're 18th, and they're headed down fast because they can't get off the field.
But you think it's in Hightower's head now?
I don't know.
What's going on with the linebackers? Well, Spikes is hurt, and he's playing injured with his knee.
Yeah, I just don't think Hightower can really run well enough in today's NFL. And maybe they can make the guy into some other kind of hybrid defensive lineman or something. But
I know they're dropping Nikovic back more and more during the games. He's not rushing as much. They're getting him back covering tight ends at times.
If you could subtract one player off the Patriots defense and make them as bad as they could be, which player would you take off of the remaining players?
Jones. Chandler Jones?
All right.
Talib?
I was thinking Ninkovich because he's in a lot of plays, but I don't know. I just think the defense.
He's not having a great year. He's steady.
It's hard to imagine the defense being good enough to bring them to a Super Bowl. I just can't
You don't
see
know.
it.
You know, all of a sudden they could become real good if they work on it. You know, who knows? I don't think the defensive linemen are hurting him as much as the linebackers right now. I think Fletcher should be playing all the time. You know, and Collins should be playing all the time. Give those guys a chance. I mean,
Well-
Hightower's just not doing it. Maybe he needs to make a big play. Maybe if he makes a couple of big plays, has a great game, he'll get it back.
Well, one thing that before the season there was all this discussion about why do we have all these guys from Rutgers, but with Harmon, Ryan, and McCourty, if they didn't have those guys, they'd be in tough shape.
Harmon and Ryan are having a tremendous season. McCourty's been real good
Right,
also.
Harmon he takes pretty good angles. He's around the guy.
I like him.
He's not giving up 50-yard passes so
I think
far.
Gregory's back, though, this week, I think. So I don't know if he'll – but Harmon's has a terrific season. You know, they're guys that – even Belichick said they're guys that work in their game. They work in it. They love being in the NFL. They work – when you have guys like that love being in the NFL, like Jones on the Chris Jones, the lineman,
Right.
you know, like him, he loves being there. He works. He had that big play, you know, when they pressured the quarterback last game. He's the one who got in there up the middle, and then the other Jones came in.
Well, it's the last show of the year for us. We hope you have a wonderful holiday season and that you think about others less fortunate around you and make some time and resources for them. I've enjoyed being with you. I'm Ron Sen.
Happy holidays. I'm Ralph Lavella, and thank you for watching Let's Talk Sports.